What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I want to give you guys a quick warning about the markets. But let me first note that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice, and don't forget to smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, when it comes to the way the market is moving, I want everyone to be very careful at that 563 area because, as you guys can tell, the market so far has gotten rejection right there. And we're going to be watching to see how well we hold up around these levels. Now, I was hoping that since we could have held above 562, I was hoping we could have seen about 564, but we came just short of that, hitting 563 instead and coming down from there. So the market has very, very tight resistance levels above the 560 range. And so we're going to be very, very careful around this area. So what's happening is we have this bearish divergence developing on SPY. And amidst the data release, the market pumped and then dumped. And so far, we're showing some weakness. And I want to be very, very mindful of the fact that, the market is likely in a topping process. And I did warn everyone that, yes, we could push higher to resistance close to all-time highs, but I'd be warning everyone that there could be rejection coming. So far, the market is showing weakness, and there is a risk of us dipping even lower. So I want to break down exactly why that is. Now, the data came out. The S&P Global Composite PMI was not bad. This was decent. The market didn't react too much to that. What caused the big dip, I think, was this right here, the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI being below expectations. This is showing that in the U.S., manufacturing is slowing down. We're getting some weakening numbers, especially when it comes to jobs data, not to mention the overall sector as a whole. So we're seeing some weakness right there. We have more manufacturing numbers coming out at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we have some bill auctions, so be very careful with all of that coming out. SPY is shuffling right now around this 560 area. We have this bearish divergence, so just watch your levels for now. We have 562 as the main resistance. We got to get back above that to turn back up. And if we do break 563, we're looking at the 564 towards the all-time high. If we continue to lose 560, we're going to be looking for 558 and then 556. If 556 breaks, there's going to be a big dump on SPY. We're going to be looking for a big drop. This is going to be our critical support right over here. When you zoom out of SPY, I just wanted to say that I'm continuing to see some weakness, at least from the way the chart is developing. The bearish divergence remains and volume is slowing down. And, many of us were thinking we would actually push to try to fill this gap, try to get to the all-time high. We came just short so far. And it's possible that the top could be in. We could have topped today. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure, but I do want to say that there is a risk that we're in a topping process and SPY either has topped or it's eventually going to top, and we might be looking for a move to the downside. So I'm going to be looking at this support at 560 to see how well we hold, but I'm seeing a weakness on the chart. The fact that we rejected here and we haven't been able to break past that resistance, and the fact that we're shuffling at 560 is showing some weakness. We'll see how we close, but just note that there is weakness on the chart, and that's slowing things down for the markets. As a result of that, Tesla is building some weakness. We had this high at 228. We came down at a lower high at 225. And we could be dipping here. We're going to be looking at the 220 area. If we close below that, it's not going to be a good sign. We could be dipping more on Tesla. If we hold above it, we could be looking for a bounce. But I think that there's a risk of downside. Tesla's been range bound for the last couple of days. If I look at like the hourly time frame, we have this range right here, right? It looks just like this. And as you guys can see, we've been going back and forth between these levels for the past 3 days, back and forth, back and forth. But now we're starting to lose support here. So this break of structure could take us down to this 217 area. So I'm seeing some weakness developing. On the 4-hour time frame, Tesla's also dipping, so you want to be careful. But I just want to remind everyone that Tesla's technically on an uptrend. We're still bullish when it comes to the overall trend. If you look at this big white line right here, we're still holding that. We're still uptrending, but we're seeing a temporary dip for the short term. We're temporarily dipping for now in a much bigger trend. So you want to be very mindful of that. I'm still seeing a weakness developing on SPY and the others. For Nvidia, I said we might be pushing for about that 130 area. If we had broken that, we turn bullish. If not, we could reject. And lo and behold, we have a double top leg structure developing, rejection off 130. I'll be looking at this 128 zone. If we break that, look for 126.5, followed by the 124.7 area. Red risk of dipping to at least the 126s if we can't hold above 128. And there is a risk of Nvidia rejecting as well. For Bitcoin, our support at 60,500 is breaking. This opens the doors for 60,000, if not lower levels like the 58,800 area. I'm seeing some weakness now. We initially pumped about 61,400 only to reject. So I'm seeing some weakness on Bitcoin. For ES, we pushed all the way up to about 56.50, and we're going to be looking at that resistance. I was thinking that we might attempt to see a little bit of a break. We did break above that only to reject. So look at this trend. We came short of making this cup. So watch 56.50. We can't reclaim that. We may be dipping to 56.20, which may drag SPY lower. So I'm seeing some weakness on ES. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. I called out 485. I said if we break that, look for a nice push. If not, we could be rejecting. We're barely at support at 482. If that breaks, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards low levels such as the 481.25 area, followed by 479. And if 479 breaks, there's going to be a big dip coming to the QQQ. I think that we could be favoring this imbalance fill down here towards 476. So we look like we have a bearish divergence. We look a little bit more bearish to me. I think that there is a risk of us dipping lower. So I just want you guys to be very careful with the QQQ. This could be the possible top, and the top might be in. I don't know for sure, guys. I'm not 100% fixated on that yet, but I just want to say there's a risk of downside looking at the charts, and I'm seeing some weakness building. Aapl pushed up to about 228 only to see a move back down. We're looking at support currently just under 227 and 226. And notice that with 226, this imbalance is kind of forming here. This could lead to more downside. So you want to be very careful right over there. For super micro, we're barely holding support at 609. If we lose that, we'll be tipping all the way down towards 595. And we have resistance at 635. So I see a risk of us dipping even lower. For the IWM Russell 2000, we pushed all the way up to about this 260 area, 216 area, excuse me. I said in the morning, look at 216 to 217. If we broke 216 to 217, we'd be pushing for the 220s. If we rejected, we'd be dipping back down to about 213. And lo and behold, that's what happened. We rejected, and now we're at risk of getting very close to 213. We had 214 as our first support. If that fails us, I'm going to be looking for this gap support at 213, followed by this trend line, which happens to be around the 212.4 area. So, in my opinion, there's a little bit of downside potential for the IWM, especially if we have a temporary bearish divergence for the short term, not for the long term, just for now. I'm just calling that out. For Coinbase, I was hoping we'd get up to this imbalance towards like 209. We came just short. We hit 207. Now we're looking at 202 as our support. If that fails us, we're going down to 200. And if that breaks, there's going to be a bigger dip coming. So for now, I'm seeing a little bit of a dip that could be forming right now. So you want to be very careful, very mindful of that. For stocks like Amazon, we're dipping a bit. I was saying we need to hold 180 to go up to 184. If not, we're dipping back down to the lower levels. We're going to be testing this trend line as our first support. If that fails us, we're going down to 177 and 175. There is a potential for some downside, but we'll just watch the trend line to see if it holds. For Meta, we have a bearish divergence that's forming. We're looking at this 540 area. So far, it's holding up decently, but we'll be watching to see if we end up losing 537. If we do lose that later on during the day, this could start turning more bearish and see a bit of a rejection. Hasn't done so yet. It's still holding up nicely. So watch this 540 area. Meta still is holding up nicely, but Microsoft is looking weaker. Microsoft has 421 as support and 418 and resistance at 425. We reject off 425. I called out a test of 425 today, and I said that watch to see if you reject. Lo and behold, we rejected. So it's showing some weakness. Google's showing some weakness. We're going to be looking at that 166 zone. We could be getting close to that as we are rejecting. So be mindful of the potential downside. And with that being said, guys, please be very careful. So from my view of the markets, it's possible that we've been in a topping process. I made a video about that yesterday. I said the market was bullish because we could be approaching some higher levels, and we did push more. We did push to 563. We actually broke the highs from the last couple of days, so we did push more. But I warned everyone that there could be a rejection coming. I was personally thinking that 564 would be where we might get the rejection, but instead it actually came a little bit early, possibly because a lot of people were suspecting that as well, as that was very close to where the all-time high happened to be. But nonetheless, guys, the market is showing weakness, and if SPY loses that 560 area, there's going to be a risk of even more downside. We're barely holding support right now. There's a bearish divergence that's still developing, and we're going to be watching to see if the top is in, if we're about to get a rejection. So my job here is just to give you guys a warning about that. With that being said, have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys in a few hours for another update, and peace out.